Senator Destiari.
Thank you, Mr. Acting Deputy President. Let me begin just by saying dajia how. Recent remarks by our friends on the crossbenches and in government about China compel me to reiterate to this Parliament that the strong and enduring relationship and friendship between both the governments of China and Australia is something we can rightly be very proud of. And as I've said publicly on several occasions, provocative and prejudicial slurs about the Chinese people are needless and are offensive. I wrote in the Australian Financial Review back in January, on the eve of Chinese New Year, challenging the Foreign Minister for asserting that Australia should prioritise its relationship with the United States and with Japan at the expense of our relationship with China, for publicly ranking our diplomatic partners and for placing a misguided sense of Australian identity over our future national interests. I joined members of the Australian Chinese community in Sydney last month to remind the Prime Minister that his comments praising the sense of honour of Japanese soldiers in the Second World War were also needless and were hurtful to many people, and perhaps also prompted by that same misguided sense of Australian identity. And I rise today to publicly condemn the comments made by Clive Palmer on Q&A last week, which he has rightly privately apologised for, and hopefully there will be an increasing and a more public apology for in coming days. And I also condemn the comments made by another senator in this place from the Palmer United Party, Jackie Lambie. Both these comments demonstrate needless, provocative and unnecessary prejudice, and again have been prompted by a misunderstanding of the deep and enduring China-Australia relationship. Friends, I do not need to remind any of you that serving in this place is a great privilege. Our words and our actions resonate beyond this chamber into our vibrant multicultural communities among our diplomatic friends and shape both the challenges and opportunities facing Australia on the world stage. Successive Australian political leaders have worked very hard to cultivate enduring relationships that are profitable economically, culturally and politically for both countries. Let me be clear, the rise of China as an economic, social, cultural and political power in our region presents Australia with a unique opportunity. Few countries are better placed than Australia, both geographically and politically, to capitalise on this rise to achieve our own economic and social objectives. While there are those who try to divide us by stoking the embers of fear and division, the relationship will endure because the bond between the people of these two great nations is deep and will continue to grow stronger. The statistics speak for themselves, but the story is deeper than just a few statistics. China is now Australia's largest trading partner and twice the size of our second largest trading partner. There are now well over 1 million people in our country who identify as being Chinese Australians, who have brought their culture, their identity and their sense of community to help grow this vibrant multicultural nation. But again, the relationship is deeper than just statistics. We must recognise that the relationship will continue to be strong and continue to strengthen, provided we understand that we do not simply want a relationship with our largest trading partner that is simply based on transaction, that is simply based on trade, which is simply based on us being the cheapest place to purchase a particular commodity. We want an enduring relationship that is built on principles of trust and respect, and it is when those principles are being applied that the relationship is at its strongest. For over 40 years, the relationship has gone from strength to strength, and all political parties, all major political parties, have played a role in this. As everyone in this chamber knows, it was Gough Whitlam who famously began the modern relationship between Australia and China. It was in April 1971, the Secretary of the Federal ALP, Mick Young, suggested a delegation to visit China. Whitlam telegraphed Zhou Enlao and was openly mocked by members of the McMahon government. But as we all know, Whitlam was on the right side of history, and he arrived in Beijing in July 1971, days before Kissinger arrived to prepare Nixon's historic visit in 1972. Friends, this was over a generation ago, but that relationship has continued to grow. Bob Hawke and Paul Keating played an important role in the modern era of bringing that relationship forward. By bringing in institutions and playing a key role in the creation of institutions like APEC, by understanding that the changes that China was undergoing at an economic level following Deng Xiaoping the rise of Deng Xiaoping and the modern era of Chinese economic progression. And while he's not someone I've often praised in this place, the former Prime Minister John Howard played a very important role in building that relationship with China. While the relationship began with a rocky start, over time there is no doubt that Prime Minister Howard understood and recognised the importance of the Australia-China relationship. And in more recent years, Julie Gillard and Kevin Rudd both played a role in elevating the relationship, about recognising that the new and increasing growth of China in this region is an economic, a social and a political opportunity. And it's been a relationship that's been reciprocated. It's worth noting the significance that the Chinese government has placed on its relationship with Australia, and that's best highlighted by the quality of the people and the delegates they've sent to represent them here. And I want to note the outstanding work that's done by Ambassador Ma and the team at the Chinese Embassy, who have played a very important role in maintaining and building the friendship and relationship. I think in recent times, though, there's been a series of unhelpful comments and statements that have been made that have been hurting this relationship. And as I've said in different places, I feel the comments that were made by the Foreign Minister, Julie Bishop, where she said that the Chinese, that she had a responsibility to be, quote, tougher on the Chinese than the previous Labor administration, I think was an unhelpful remark, and I think it demonstrates a failure to understand what this relationship really needs to be about. She asserted that it needs to be tougher, and that the Chinese, and I think the hurtful part was when she said that the Chinese government doesn't respect weakness. Now let's be clear. With all due respect, I think the Chinese have stood down far more formidable diplomatic opponents. But it's not about weakness, it should be about respect. And I urge the Foreign Minister to keep this in mind as she prepares for the visit of President Xi and for the G20. The Australian Chinese diaspora are rightly proud of the achievements of their country. They're proud of the transformation they have achieved in a space of a few short generations. They're proud of the economic and social transformation of China, and all Australians are proud and continue to benefit from the important role that China and Chinese Australians play in the transformation of our own society. Friends, we have a responsibility in this chamber as senators and as representatives to ensure that our words, our language are about not only our largest trading partner, but a country that is playing such an important role in the future of this nation, are respectful, are considerate, and understand that this is a relationship that presents Australia with a very unique opportunity. Xi.
Thank you, Senator Dastyari. Senator